Hey everybody, it's Michael with Bay Area Hiking Guides. Give you that information, give you that knowledge to go out there and hike with confidence. And in this video, we're going to be talking about a particular incident that has to do a lot to do with these wild turkey and pig that are all roaming about everywhere. It's becoming kind of a bit of a problem, so we're going to go deeper into it. Are they native here? Where the heck did they come from? Alright, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Michael. I'm a host of this channel. I'm always posting videos about informing information about when you're out on your hikes, certain things, whether it's trees, wildflowers, or particular things that might make a little interesting. And I got a lot of other people that get on the channel that are very informative and very educated in particular things, and also big nature lovers themselves. So we're going to be talking about a particular thing in the Bay Area, which is becoming a bit of a problem. It's not only just a problem as far as hiking goes, but it's also moving into areas of the urban land with streets and sidewalks and all of the good stuff. So that's the wild pig and the wild turkey. Where do they come from? Are they native? All these big questions that we have. What the heck is going on here? They're getting pretty invasive because I know a lot of people are very informed with the invasive plant life that we have here, whether it's a star thistle or we get that French broom that's growing everywhere. But let's get more into the animals, the impact that they're making on our environment in a not so good friendly way. So we're going to get into this, so stay tuned. I'm going to go ahead and change my location, a pretty cool location to talk about this particular topic. These pigs and these turkeys being here, what's the whole main story? This is pretty interesting stuff, so I can't wait to talk about it. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about these wild pigs and the wild turkeys that we have here in the state of California. They're starting to get really out of control. Start with wild turkeys first. We'll cover those guys. If you haven't noticed any wild turkeys and you live in the Bay Area, you don't get out enough. Because I tell you, they're everywhere. So we've got them in the state park, we've got them in the regional parks, we got them in golf courses, we got them in people's front yards, we got them in Aunt Betty's garden, the streets, the roads. I mean, they're all over the place, and they're doing quite well. How did they come here? What the heck happened? What's going on? And let's get into it. Well, if you can go back to when you really remember turkeys and them being all over the place, you kind of don't have to go too far back. You know, back when I was a kid, back in the 80s and the 90s, it was very rare to ever see turkeys. It was few and far between. And then even in the 70s, Beth has always talked about it with me before, it was extremely rare to see turkeys roaming around doing their whole gobble gobble thing. And now, you can go outside your front door and they'll be right there. There'll be tons of them. Sometimes there's 50 of them. Really, in the last 20 years, they've really taken off quite a bit. Now, if we go back, and we're going to go back to, say, the early 1900s, the Department of Fish and Game decided to boost up the hunting. And they want to make hunting available and more abundant in California, and also just more pro. Let's go ahead and introduce some farm-raised turkeys. Hey, why not? Now, we do have a native turkey, not here in California, but we do in the eastern side of the United States. And then a few like in Texas, which we'll get to in a minute. And they decided to do that, and it didn't go well at all. I mean, if we all know that if you go ahead and you kick your 16-year-old teenager out the door and he has absolutely no life skills whatsoever, it doesn't know where to start. Well, how well that's going to go, I don't know. He'll probably be on someone's couch somewhere, or her. Kind of the same with animals. If we domesticate them so much and we give them food and shelter and protection, now when you throw them out in the wild, they're not really going to do too well. Well, it didn't go well. So then they decided in 1959 that, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and try this hybrid Texas turkey. We all know Texas, right? Big state, they got big everything. They got barbecue, they got ribs, and they got a Walmart in every corner. It's the Lone Star State, right? And they brought these turkeys over, and they were wild. So they captured them, put them in, and these turkeys were, they had the capability to be to prosper very well in the environment that we have, and to just massively do it in a pretty good rate. And they flourished, and they flourished some more, and some more, and some more. And when they let them go, they didn't do it in a confined environment like we have with our cattle. They did it in a way where they pretty much had free range. and they started jumping into different parks and so on, and well, the rest is history. If we cluster out how much land they've taken over in the state of California, it's about 29,000 acres, and that's a lot in a landmass there. It's a whole lot of turkeys. What do they eat? They eat the acorns. They eat, they've taken acorns from a lot of these oaks that are producing a lot of these acorns for other native species in this area. They're taking out tarantulas. Remember Tyler doing that tarantula video? We have a lot more respect for the tarantulas. Well, guess what? The turkeys eat them all the time. They'll pretty much eat anything they can get their hands on. They'll eat, snakes if they can. They'll eat a lot of the wildflower, native wildflower, rare wildflower species that we have here. Some of those tube flowers. So I'm pretty sure they're taking down trilliums as well, like the pigs are. And it's becoming really evasive in how much they're making an impact in taking stuff that's, native here. Now, do they have predators? Yeah, sure they do. Of course, bobcats will take them down. Mountain lion will take them down. But mountain lion and bobcats and all those other guys, the coyotes, the foxes, I continue to go through, they don't necessarily like to have turkey because it's not their main diet. It's not like us where it's like, hey, you know what, today we're going to have Chinese, and tomorrow we're going to have pizza, and then the next day, well, we're going to go out for Mexican food. They're not like that. They stick to their routine. They stick to their normal diet. They don't switch things up. They have taken them down. They do eat them, but there's also a lot of difficulty that you have to worry about with those claws and everything that they have. They can get pretty aggressive, and nonetheless, they've got lots of friends. I mean, sometimes they've got 50 buddies with them. So it's a lot that they have to encounter and deal with and possibly get seriously hurt in the long run. So a lot of their predators really much don't want to have anything to do with them. So now that you look into that, they really don't have too many predators. Not really none at all. I mean, sure, the bobcats and the mountain lion will take them, but it's it's rare. What do? There's really nothing we can do. It's going to consistently keep getting worse. The ecologists don't really see any issue with it. They don't think that it's making an impact on our native species, so therefore they're not going to put the time or money into it. So that's going to be a whole process. I'm not a big fan of them. I know hunting-wise there is restrictions. You got to have a license to do it, and obviously you can't hunt them in a state park or regional park. They don't allow guns, so that's not going to work. So that's a big issue. So it's something that is going to, I think, get really, really worse and continue to get worse, and they're going to mass produce, and it's going to be quite a problem until eventually we will have to do something about it. Whether that might be aggressive means that a lot of people aren't going to like, or it's going to be something else. We're going to have to capture them and start feeding people. But now that we have all these lawsuits and regulations, we'll talk about the pig in just a minute, it kind of makes it difficult to do that. So, I mean, we're all starving people. There's world hunger going on everywhere, and there's some world hunger right there that can solve that problem, but we're not doing that. So, we're going to talk on that in a minute. The wild boar. Are they native? No. Would have gathered that. They're not native. Where the heck they come from and what's going on. They're becoming a bit of an issue too, and they're not only just dwindling down into the state park and the regional parks, they're also in people's lawns and Aunt Betty's garden, and they're also out there at the golf courses, which is not fun. Why are they here? This is a real interesting story. As I got deeper into it, and I dug, I got some real cool stuff. And I'll leave one of the links down below about this particular individual, which I'm going to get to in a minute. I'm taking my hat off for this one because he just frustrates me. We introduced pig from the 1700s and then on. So unlike the turkeys, where it was pretty early, it was fairly later in the years, in the 1900s and above, where we kind of introduced those. With the pig, it's a different story. So with the turkey, we never experienced that. The Native Americans or the pioneers, the miners, they didn't experience a turkey situation or eat them or anything like that. But the pig, yeah. So they were introduced in the 1700s, and by European settlers, by Spanish settlers, by Russian settlers, and they came and introduced them as a domesticated pig. Now, when that domesticated pig would run rampant, now you can also say wild boar and all that stuff. It's the same thing. When they had that domesticated pig before it turned wild pig or wild boar, things were going, well, it seemed to be going pretty well until little piggy decided to break the old barrier and leave its farmland home, and then became wild and rampant and kept producing. Yeah, the pigs produce pretty quickly. Oh yes they do. Oh yes they do. We're going to get into the other spectrum of the ones that we see today, which are pretty much mostly due to this screwball. George, good old George Gordon Moore was a guy that decided that he would, he had tons of money, making tons of money. He was kind of, had a cocky personality, thought that he was the one that basically helped us win World War I because he prevented the Germans from putting force and continuing forward with the war. The guy definitely rode his high horse. He liked to ride his horse, and he loved hunting. So he decided, hey, why not? I'm going to go ahead and introduce pigs, and I'm going to introduce a wild pig, and I'm going to let it run rampant, and some big pigs nonetheless, and these are the ones that you're seeing today. And he introduced this wild pig, this hybrid, and it run rampant. And he had all of his hunting buddies come around. He actually developed a theme park in Carmel that now is a preserve, but he made this theme park and he only made it for the wealthy. So only the wealthy can attend the theme park, and it was basically golf courses and horses. You can do horse riding and hunting, and it was only for the wealthy. That right there pisses me off. George, if I ever see you in the parking lot, we're going one-on-one. So he introduced these pigs, and these pigs went rampant. They went crazy, and they weren't confined by any means. Hey, there you go. And it didn't go well at all. So now those are a lot of the pigs you see today. What do they do to the soil? What's all that rototilling stuff that's going on you might see? Well, let's go ahead and get into that. I'm going to take you to a location where some of that's actually happening. So we can see all here that the soil's been turned over just like a rototill would do, and they're digging up in here trying to look for tubes, grubs, any kind of insects in there that they can start eating up. And this is everywhere. This is happening in golf courses, people's front lawns, and as well as the park department. Once the winter, spring, rainy days, you see a lot more of it, and you actually have a better chance of spotting one of them. So here we are again. We're seeing a bunch of this stuff torn up, and it's all around here. So why are they doing this? Why do they have to be a bunch of assholes? Well, it's all just to get the food. Dig it up, get the food, move on, continue. Dig it up, get the food, move on. So then, when you're going through in the spring and you want to see the wildflowers, some of these areas aren't going to have wildflowers because they're already torn up. Not fun. Thanks, Porky. Well, they eat everything. Pigs will eat anything that they possibly can put in their mouth. Whether it's, trilliums that we love so much, Bess talked about before, which are really hard to find around here in the Los Trompos area, which you kind of have to know where they're at. Anything they can, from lizards to snakes, I'm pretty sure they eat tarantulas, anything they put their mouth in and start chewing down and put that in their belly. Acorns, you name it, okay? So the other thing about the pigs is they actually have been known from farmers that'll let pigs go roam around to get rid of rattlesnakes. So they're eating the rattlesnakes up. They don't get affected by rattlesnake bites. It doesn't do anything to them like they do us. And that's what farmers used to do to get rid of the rattlesnakes in their property. They'd let pigs go, tear the soil up and turn it over, and then they would just remove the snakes. Well, most of them. Liking them in any means whatsoever, because rattlesnakes are native here. The pigs are not. Predators, mountain lion will take them down. I've seen mountain lion kills that are, them killing evidence of them that they've killed pig. But it's very few and far between. It's not their main diet. They don't prefer it, and it's pretty rare for them to eat them. They stick to deer. That's their main go-to. Like I said with the turkeys, it's, like us with, when we go eat. It's not like that at all. They will stick to their main diet, and they don't really typically like to eat pig, but they will if they can. So for the most part, they're able to produce rapidly and really don't have too many issues with predators. Hunting season's all year round, and for matters of fact, if you own a ranch and you want to get rid of pigs, you can go ahead and contact the Department of Fish and Game, and they'll come in there and hunt them for free. Or you can contact somebody that does it professionally, that has a hunting license, and take them down. Now, the State Department, Parks Department also will put up these cages, and you probably noticed those before, and they'll put food in there, corn, all kinds of other stuff, and they'll go and they'll trap the pigs. Now, what happens to the pigs next is, well, put two and two together. What they used to do is they used to kill them and they give them to food donations and food shelters and stuff, but because of the politics and everything and the liability, they stopped doing that. So now they just, well, kill them. What they do with them afterwards, I have no idea. Yeah, they are. I've had stories with it. I had an incident where I was in Mount Diablo. I had one come at me, full on, face to face. I had to show him my war face, full speed, full on, and I had to stand my ground. It was almost, the sun was almost down. I was shooting photography, and he came at me, went the other way. Well, or she. A lot of the later in the season, you'll notice that stuff starts drying up and they can't dig as easy. So what they'll start doing is they'll start pulling out the soap plants and ripping them apart and getting the tube inside there, because they love tube plants. Soap plant, trillium, story goes on. And you'll start noticing that those getting pulled out and ripped up a lot and eaten. So it's pig. They're getting desperate. Thanks, buddy. We appreciate it. Thanks for introducing him. The other interesting thing about George, he was such a great guy. This is going to make you even love him even more. He decided that he was going to let a brown bear wild, and he let one wild. So he said, oh, okay, I'm going to let this thing go wild. And well, it ended up going wild, and it took over, and got into somebody's home, and they ripped it. The bear ripped everything up, and then they shot the damn thing to death. George, what the hell? George, I don't like you. Hi, man. Didn't know. He knew. Oh, he knew. He knew damn well what he was doing. Well, unfortunately, the Great Depression hit, and he was down to $1,000, and he lost everything. Good old Murphy's Law. Get you every time. See what happens. There's really nothing else we can do. I guess come together as a community and take a stance. I don't even know if I could lead an ant farm. I'm such a hermit. God almighty. Of course the wind kicks up. Of course. Gives a little dramatic tension. The compaction that the cattle, the turkey, and the pig are making on the trails. Especially the cows. Sorry, Sammy. Thank you so much for checking out these videos. I always love posting them. I always love having people on and talking to you guys. And if you're new to the channel, like I said, feel free to like, subscribe, hit that bell so you get those notifications, because I want to do everything I can in my power to educate the public, educate the community that we have here in the Bay Area, and get people out there to start hiking. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much once again. I love all the feedback, all the comments. If you got any more comments, maybe there's more stuff that you know about the turkeys and the wild pig, leave a comment down below. I love to hear it. Okay, I'm off for some hiking. Right here, this is all pig track. They were coming through here deep, going underneath that way. I know what hiking group does this. Now they're going to get a little phone call. You already have one arrow there. Why do you need another one? Really? That's it.